What I would like to talk today about to start off with is how I was raised. I love this theme of leap of faith because it really, and thinking about the idea of leap of faith, I started to think about my mother, raised in the 50s, and she dropped out of mainstream and became part of the counterculture movement. Along with her and her 4 best friends, they were kind of gypsies. They moved all over California, and then they ended up in Taos, New Mexico, where each of them had a child, and each of the fathers left. And my mom and her 4 best friends, who I consider my aunties, raised us kids who are my brothers and sisters together. So that's a pretty big leap of faith to take, a new way of raising children, right? To drop out and try something different. They created their own rules about what it was to be a family and what it was really to live on this planet and to be successful and what that meant for each of them. And the core value that we all share to this day as a family, and we still celebrate all holidays together, we're still truly a tribe, a family. What we all share as a core value to this day is this idea that the most important central aspect of health is what my aunties and my moms call inner work. So working on oneself. And the way they provided us kids with tools to work on ourselves throughout my entire childhood. And of course, back then I'd roll my eyes and like hem and haw, but thankfully I got these tools. One of the things we used to do is we'd sit in a circle. We called it Dream Circle. And we did it often on Sundays. So the aunties would gather, the kids would gather, and one of us would share a dream we had the night before. And then we would talk about the symbols of that dream, whether they be light symbols, maybe dark symbols, scary symbols, imaginative symbols, whatever they are, and how those symbols might relate to who we were on the inside. And so I grew up with this kind of interesting way of looking at life, really looking at my dreams and looking inside. Health was a big part of our lives, and I would call it intuitive health. Again, central to our health was inner awareness, but also how we lived intuitively and consciously in the world. We gardened, we shopped at local co-ops, we soaked black beans always on the stove. We moved intuitively, we were in touch with nature, we were close to nature always. My aunties and my mom never followed a diet ever, or a fad. They never did the fat-free thing. They didn't go crazy with exercise. They didn't belong to gyms. They just simply moved intuitively and lived close to nature. We used to have boogie parties. That was one way we exercised. And so we had a record player, and we'd put on the Rolling Stones. They'd all eat brownies, and we'd all boogie. It was super fun. So my mom, I was sharing that with my mom, and I said, "Is it okay if I mention the brownies?" She's like, "Yeah, they know anyways." True story, I did eat one once when I was 5, and I had a really good night's sleep, apparently right in the middle of the boogie party. I'm okay, I survived. So I grew up that way, but I was we were poor, super poor, on food stamps a lot. Gypsies. I moved 13 times by the time I was 8. I didn't grow up in a stable environment. And I always wanted to reimagine my life. So I moved to LA to get to know my dad. I enrolled in City College. And then I ended up going to college and UCLA and then grad school. And I found a career in fitness. And I was really attracted to group exercise. And in retrospect, I think it's because of the boogie parties. It's great music, a lot of women, kind of tribal. It was totally my jam. And I figured out a way to make money doing this, which was really exciting. I joined a company called 24 Hour Fitness right out of grad school. And I ended up staying there for 11 years, and I helped grow the company from 25 gyms to over 430 globally, and I learned the business. I learned what it was like to be externally successful. I learned how to make money. I learned a lot about financing, financial modeling, sales and marketing, legal, finance, how to manage, how to scale, how to teach, how to lead, all these external ways. And I learned a lot about what works in the fitness industry. So the fitness and wellness industry is like $1 trillion industry. It's booming. And what I learned in those 11 years, and it still holds true, is that the fitness industry is booming because there are a ton of external motivators that are intoxicating that we all buy. So most of fitness, if you think about it, is about achieving something. It's about exercising a certain way and eating certain foods so that you can get somewhere. So that you can lose weight, so that you can build muscle, so that you can fit in your skinny jeans, so you get ready for bikini season, so that you can cross the finish line before your neighbor, so that you can climb Mount Everest, so that you can, right? That's what the fitness industry sells over and over again. And the way to get there is often modeled after a guru, what I call a guru, someone that's not ourselves but outside of ourselves, professing a way to live that's healthy and very educated and science-based and real, right? A real way to live that they've discovered that people follow. So there's a lot of following, and what I would say is some of it's copying. You'll see in group exercise, for example, they cue a move and everybody does it. And they're supposed to do it the same way. There's not a lot of diversity. It's a lot about, kind of joining the crowd. It's also formulaic, meaning I remember like at 24 Hour Fitness being on the treadmill and just watching that number, like I need to get to 800 calories. I need to do this for at least 30 minutes or it doesn't count. So it's very achievement oriented, what success means with fitness. Does that resonate with you guys a little bit? And then how many calories am I gonna eat? And I need to calories out, calories in, and then I'll be okay. Then it's success, right? And I know to this day, I still think, well, I don't have time to exercise. Well, I have 5 minutes, that's exercise, that still works. But in my head, 30 minutes is the minimum for it to count, for it to be achieving anything. So all these external forces, right, outside of ourselves. So I was in this industry, I'd arrived, my husband joined me. He ended up being with the company as well. We'd made it. We bought our house in the Bay Area, which is a huge, big deal to buy a house in the Bay Area. We actually had a view of the ocean. We had 2 beautiful babies. We had a thriving career. We had arrived, right? We had made it. The irony is, as this industry was booming and my professional career was booming, and on the outside I was super successful, on the inside I was failing. I was not healthy. I was not happy. I was heavier, just in my body and my spirit. I felt disconnected. I didn't have a connection. When I got pregnant, I started to wake up to my intuition again and my inner knowing, like literally inside, because I think for those of you who've had a baby, you have this thing growing inside of you, and so all of a sudden you start looking inside again. So that was part of the catalyst. And luckily, my husband is really aligned with me. And one day out of the blue, he came up to me. He pulled a spreadsheet out of his pocket. He said, I have a radical idea. I want to share it with you, and it's scary, but I want to share it with you. I've had this in my pocket for a long time. I'm finally going to share it with you. He said, I figured out how we can sell this house and how we can drop out, move to Bend, Oregon, where it's a lot cheaper, get close to nature and be with our kids, and get healthy. Fight lonely. Still makes me emotional. It was the most amazing romantic moment of our marriage because he's really analytical and like a rules follower, and I'm the new shiny thing person. So when he brought me that idea, I was like, that's the hottest thing you've ever done, ever. And obviously it really struck a chord because my mom dropped out, right? Back to the roots, there's some familiarity there. But I told him, I'm like, you know what? I've already done the poor hippie thing. Like, we could go and not make money, and that might be awesome, but I've already done that. I want to be like a hippie with money. So we sold our house on Craigslist. I kid you not. We sold it on Craigslist because we figured it out, and we're like, let's just make some more money that way. First person who toured it bought it. It was awesome. And right as the housing market crashed, we packed our kids and our cat, Leo, Audrey, Drew, and Leo, and we drove to Portland, Oregon. We rented a teeny little house on the edge of Irvington. Went down in one car, and put every single penny into barre3. And barre3 is basically what I did is I took the inner growth tools I learned growing up, my inner awareness tools, combined with my business tools that I learned at 24 Hour Fitness. And I created barre3 along with Chris. So we looked inside. And the biggest leap of faith was not selling the house, leaving our careers, starting a business, being broke. That was not the leap of faith. The leap of faith to this day is looking inside, being still, trusting my inner voice, my inner warrior, versus the inner critic or the inner child. The voice that I grew up knowing and learning to know. So my mantra this year is home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Coming home. I'm coming home to what I know, and that means being still. That means being silent. Our business, we've decided to stop growing bigger for a while. Instead, we're going to grow better. So our whole company is focusing on mindfulness and looking inside, searching inside. If any of you come to barre3 classes, you'll see that we always say, you are your own best teacher. We are not a guru model. I might be your guide, your teacher here. I'm going to guide the movements, but you're going to make the choices that are right for you. We give you full permission to be a rebel. We give you full permission to, instead of being attached to that ideal that fitness sells, let go of that and instead be committed to real. Honor your truth, what's right for you in every single moment, because you know the answers more than anybody. That's an empowered way to grow. That's truly healthy. And when we grow from a place of inner knowing, we make the right choices. We do. We make the choices that are healthy, and then we get where we want to go in the first place, versus being attached to getting there, losing the weight, gaining the muscle, winning the race. That's not really what matters. What matters is being happy and healthy and whole and self-aware. So my question for all of you, my challenge for all of you, is to take a leap of faith with me and just think about this question. What if we're all business people, we're all entrepreneurs. What if each one of us took just as much time to grow inside, to look inside and work on ourselves as we do to grow our company? It's important to grow the company, to look at your P&Ls, figure out your differentiation, your elevator speech, your sales and marketing, how to scale things, all of that's important. That's an outward expression of success. But what if we spent just as much time inside, figuring ourselves out, being still, looking in, trusting just for a moment that inner voice that has nothing to do with external success at all, or what other people tell us, just listening in. What if we all did that? Who knows? I think we'd have a different president. Just saying. I can say that, we're in Portland. I can say that anyways. That's my other thing, is be bold. Like, why not just say it? That's how I feel. It's really how I feel. And I think it's an important time for all of us to be a little more mindful. So thank you so much for having me.